What's up, everybody? I'm Hoops and Hip Hop, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokeblock Podcast. Now, first things first, I have got to say, if you guys tuned into last week's episode, I just want to say thank you so much, because that is by far, at least on YouTube anyway, the most viewed episode of this podcast that we've ever had, and it was really awesome to see you guys turn out for that. So thank you so much if you tuned in for that. If you didn't, you can definitely check it out with the... I'll probably put an iCard in the top right corner of the screen. Or you can just check out the playlist link or something like that on the channel. But yes, either way, I really appreciate it. But with that being said, this is going to be the 26th episode of this podcast, which also means we've officially been doing this for half a year, which is really crazy when I think about that it's like every week for half a year. I think that's really crazy, and I just really appreciate UCast Studios for having me on and allowing me to do this every week and talk to you guys in a more extended format, but also a much more chill format. If you haven't noticed, I can speak my mind a lot more in these versus my videos, because my videos obviously need that kind of professional persona, and here it's just like I can just talk like I normally would, and it's way chiller, so it's like a nice dynamic between the two that I really enjoy. But with that being said, today we are going to talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield controversy, and obviously this is not a new topic, but since today, the day that this podcast is going up, is the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield, like everywhere, I figured if I try and talk about anything else, there's no way I'm going to be able to compete with it. Like, people are going to be glued to their Switches, and rightfully so. But I figured, since this was going on, like, really, really hardcore all this last week, and it's something kind of just different, I figured I would go ahead and discuss and give my extended thoughts on it, and maybe you guys can follow along while you're playing the game or something like that. Because on these type of topics, I usually tend to stay... I'll give my opinion, but I usually tend to stay a little more tame on like Twitter or Instagram or wherever else, just because I'm not a person that likes confrontation, so I don't like to like really get into it. And then B, I don't want to like go too aggressive one way or another, not that I would anyway, but I don't want to like make people upset in general, because I'm just not that type of person. So I state my opinion without like... I feel like telling everything about what I feel about a certain topic when it comes to these types of things. So in this episode, I'm going to explain a little bit more about how I feel about all of this stuff. So basically the way that this last week went was it started off really awesome, because the Thank You Game Freak hashtag was basically started by Mystic Umbreon, or at least he was the one that kind of got it together and got it boosting. And everyone all throughout last weekend was basically just posting why they loved Game Freak and thanking Game Freak, and that became the #1 worldwide trending hashtag for that little expanse of time. And it got the attention of Masuda and Omori and James Turner, and they all expressed great gratitude, because there was a report that said that the morale at Game Freak was at an all-time low due to all the criticism and the lashing out about basically everything that's been going on with Pokemon Sword and Shield, National Dex stuff. You guys know the drill. So this was a response to that, to just let them know that, hey, we really appreciate you. There's actually people out here who know that you're doing your best and you're doing a good job, and we thank you for your efforts. And that was really awesome to see, and it was really cool to see positivity fight back against all the negativity. And it seemed like we would kind of be able to kind of coast into the release of Sword and Shield on that more positive note. But you know what? When it comes to the people who are against this game, they will not have that. You are not allowed to enjoy what Game Freak puts out. You're not allowed to enjoy this game, because it is bad and terrible. And the way they decided to show it was bad and terrible is by putting out another hashtag, which basically started within the last couple days, I guess, that's called Game Freak Lied, hashtag Game Freak Lied. And essentially what it centers around is the idea that early copies of the game were received by, I don't know, I guess reviewers or people who somehow had access to it, and they were data mined, and it was found that the models of the Pokemon were quote-unquote the same as models from previous games, and the way that this was proven is by showing a wireframe image of two models, one being the Sword and Shield model, one being like the previous 3DS models, and them looking the same. And everyone took this and ran with it and said that this is evidence that Game Freak lied when they said that they cut the Pokedex to make brand new models of the Pokemon and make them expressive and everything like that. And now everyone's trying to call out Game Freak again. And basically what I have to say to this hashtag is that based on the evidence that I have seen that's basically supposed to be the evidence of them lying and them reusing models, it's not evidence at all, and I don't know why this hashtag has blown up as much as it has just based on that, because the only thing that is spurring this movement are wireframe images, like wireframe models, compared side by side. Now, I'm not even a 3D modeler, and I can tell you this. One, of course the wireframe models side by side are going to look the same because they're the same dang Pokemon. Second, a wireframe model can tell you absolutely nothing about resolution or texture or anything like that that is really going to make the difference at the end of the day when it comes to, is this model better than this model? Wireframe, you can't tell that. There's no difference, especially when it's the same Pokemon. So the fact that this is what basically spurred this hashtag Game Freak Lied to trend tells me how misinformed and easy to criticize and bash and hate these people are who are against this game. They are just looking for anything that they can get their hands on to be able to criticize this game, even when they don't even know what they're talking about or even know that it's valid reason or valid evidence to be a criticism for. And this is not anything against people who might have criticisms with this game, because every single game, whether it's this game or another game or whatever, they all have flaws. They all have things that we are going to like and dislike, and no game is going to be perfect. So, I mean, in the sense of just wanting a game to be better in the future, it's fine to voice your opinion and say this was not as good as it could have been. But like in my experience, and I have obviously as a PokeTuber been right in the middle of all of this, been exposed to all of this entire time, I would say about 90 to 95% of the people who are voicing their criticisms are people who have now proven to just be so far gone past the point of no return, where they're, like I said, they are just literally digging up every little inkling and crumb and piece of dirt that they can get on the game just to be able to hate on it. And anything that pops up, even if it's not really evidence of anything bad at all, they will use as bad evidence, and they will use it to skew it to their narrative. And this kind of came to a head late last night when I guess there was a petition that one of these people put up it was directed at President Trump to ban the sales of Sword and Shield in the US because it did not live up to product expectations or something like that. And that's literally how far it's gone. And in my opinion, it's like, okay, you had an issue back in June when the National Dex was announced to be cut. You brought that up, you made yourself known. Great, that's fine. You believe that. If you believe that's a detriment to the game, yeah, bring it up. Let them know. Use the power of social media to let Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, know. But now you've taken it to the completely other end, to the point where I can't even respect your argument anymore. That's why I almost feel bad for the 10 to 5% of people that are criticizing the game, but they're criticizing it in a professional and proper way, because they are getting ultimately lost in the crowd. The people who can actually make a difference, that are actually going to critique the game in a positive way, none of these criticisms are going to even end up making a difference, because how can you respect an argument that is so childish and just beyond crazy? You can't. You just write it off, because at this point, these people they're just toxic. They're crazy. They literally don't want anyone to enjoy the game just because they individually don't like things about it. It's just gone to the point of no return, and to the point where I personally can't even respect that argument anymore, and I can't respect, I honestly do not remotely feel bad. And I was joking around with a friend last night, and I was saying, I wouldn't care if they made the game a little bit worse just to spite all of these people, because these people they clearly need to be put in their place. They're clearly spoiled. They've been spoiled by all the amazing Pokemon games we've had over the years, and this one's going to be no different. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like something definitely will happen in terms of response to the feedback with the next Pokemon game, because it's not like Game Freak can ignore this completely, but you guys are not helping yourselves at all when you do this. You're hurting the Pokemon. Like, you're just making yourself look stupid. No one's going to respect you moving forward if you do this. And because you're a part of the larger Pokemon community, you're kind of making the Pokemon community look bad. You're making the Pokemon community as a whole, even though it's not the whole of the community, look like spoiled, rotten brats who literally hate the thing they love and aren't like satisfied with anything. It's honestly really, really, really disgusting. And once again, this is to the people who have taken it to this far, far just out of control point. This is not towards people that speak up about the game but do it in a respectful way. Like, there's a way to do this properly, and it's just not being done properly anymore, so I honestly cannot respect it anymore. So that is basically what has gone on in the community in a nutshell, and it's kind of insane. There was also, there was an I Stand with Cerebi hashtag that started going around because people were attacking Joe Merrick, the webmaster of Cerebi, basically harassing him for speaking positively about the game. Because if you don't know Joe, he's the person who runs the Cerebi website, which has been around for years and years and years, covers Pokemon. It's a fan site. And on Twitter, he's got his Cerebi site, and he's got his personal Twitter where he can state his opinions. And on Cerebi, he just reports everything that goes on. And people were actually attacking him because he has maintained a positive attitude, because this guy has 20 years of experience with Pokemon games, and he kind of knows what to expect, and he can see when things are going good and going bad, and he's basically just been positive about the game, and people were attacking him for it. They were saying that he would, basically they were threatening him, I guess, and just doing all these other terrible things just because he liked the game. And that's just yet another terrible example. It's another really good example of terrible, terrible, awful behavior that, once again, it can't be respected. And it's just not, I don't know. I'm just so ready. I'm honestly glad the games are coming out, because I feel like it's been my opinion that with the release of the games, it's going to quell a lot of this stuff. Not only because we're going to be obviously kind of slowly but surely moving past it, but also I think the games are just going to do really good, and it's going to shut people up. Yeah, people are still going to complain, but overall people are going to see, oh yeah, these are pretty good games. And so I'm looking forward to that, just so we don't have to hear this anymore. But yeah, I just think it's kind of crazy. It's beyond ridiculous at this point. Especially in Joe's case, where he has nothing to do with it. He's just stating his opinion like any other fan, and just because he's in a position of power, people want to hate on him for it. And yeah, that just once again shows the lack of respectability, just the complete just awfulness that this side of the community has garnered. And like I said, me personally, I cannot remotely begin to respect anything that they're saying anymore. Before it was okay, I heard you, but now it's I don't even care what you're saying anymore. Game Freak, make the game worse just to put these people in their place, because they need, at this point, you just need to be taught a life lesson. You just need to be put in your place because you're being a spoiled brat. That's honestly what I feel like. That's my hot take. If you're one of the people acting that way. But once again, if you're just bringing up criticisms about the game, saying, I wish all the Pokemon were in the game, Game Freak, I really feel strongly about this. If you say it like that, it's fine. But if you go crazy, then you're just going off the rails, and that's not helping you. So yeah, that is what has happened this last week in a nutshell. And going forward, now that we're in the release of the games, I'm really hoping that we can turn it back around. Because like I said, with the Thank You Game Freak thing, it was so awesome to see like people give them positivity and them publicly acknowledge it and have it reach them. Because like, even if you don't agree with what's going on, the fact that morale at Game Freak has supposedly hit an all-time low because of this is just, that's not good, because regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the decisions, they've still put a lot of work into this game. Like I said, that's why I am looking forward to the release, just because larger criticisms aside and the people that just can't be helped one way or another, I feel like the game is going to be a level of quality such that people are just going to kind of like calm down a little bit and be like, okay, this game is pretty good. Like, I'm down with it. I can live with it. And then moving forward, obviously, there's been enough noise made that we can expect some things to change one way or another with the next Pokemon games. So we'll see what happens. And direct like confirmation of that sort of thing taking place, it was just reported, like, I think I saw it as recently as yesterday, that Game Freak put overworld Pokemon into Sword and Shield because they saw how much people liked it in Let's Go. So I guess originally it wasn't there, but then they added it late because people saw that they liked it so much, which thank goodness, because that was easily one of the best things about Let's Go, and it should be a staple moving forward. So I'm really glad that they put it in Sword and Shield as well, because that definitely would have been like a step backwards. So hopefully that is here to stay, but that is just an example of how they do listen to criticism. Another thing you could say that attributes to them listening to feedback and stuff and making the games better because of it is the fact that the game has a completely skippable tutorial. If you catch a Pokemon before the tutorial starts, it effectively skips it for you. So that's another huge complaint that people had from Sun and Moon, and now that's gone in Sword and Shield. And then another huge thing that was complained about in Sun and Moon's era was the over promotion and showing us too much, and they fixed that with Sword and Shield and gave us like the perfect amount to where tons of stuff was hidden and we didn't know what was going on, but they still showed us enough to be hyped. So they did so much just from Gen 7 to Gen 8 to listen to fan feedback that you know they're going to do it like extra so this time around from Generation 8 to Generation 9 and even throughout the rest of the games of Generation 8, just because of how much louder the criticism and the feedback has been. How that is going to translate, I obviously don't know. Are they going to bring back the National Dex? I don't know. They seem pretty firm in their position that this is going to be the way it is. But obviously anything's possible. But one way or another, there's going to be a response to this. They're going to do things to try and make it right, which I don't know. I guess I'm happy because it just like it'll improve the games overall because of that, and it'll put Pokemon back in a place where we can stop complaining about it, because it's been 5 months of just whining and complaining and yelling and arguing over a franchise that is supposed to allow us to escape all of that stuff, escape all the negativity, and it's just been so unbelievably disheartening. Even for a real positive person like me, I have just avoided it. I've just thrown Pokemon all the likes and the love reacts and the positivity that I can, because truthfully, I know the games are going to be amazing. I'm not someone who cares about the National Dex at all. My extent of disappointment about it being cut was about 5 seconds long when they first announced it. It went something like this. I was like, that's kind of disappointing. And then I moved on and just continued to enjoy the wild area, the open world area, the MMO elements that they showed off shortly thereafter. Like, I really don't care, because I've never been someone who's caught all the Pokemon in the Pokedex, let alone to the point now where it's like 900 Pokemon, and who wants to use all the same Pokemon every time? I know I'm not doing that. I'm going to play with new Pokemon. I'm going to catch new Pokemon, and I've never been someone that transfers Pokemon either, so that didn't affect me in the slightest, so I've just been excited for the games. But going back to what I said, I'm like, I know this is going to improve they're going to take this feedback and run with it in some way, shape, or form. But part of me just like doesn't even want them to do it now, because the fact that these people who like the toxic, crazy criticizers of this game have just been so unbelievably spoiled rotten and bratty and toxic and crazy, like I said, like I almost don't even want them to do it, because those types of people do not deserve to get what they want. When you're going to act that childish, you do not deserve to get what you want. But obviously, that's not the way it works. You can't individually ban people from getting games. Like we can't have like Pokemon Crown as the third game that has all the national decks in it. You've got basically everything is fixed. It looks like Breath of the Wild now. It's like, it's perfect. But then Game Freak has tracked down everyone who was toxic and just awful to them and says, you are banned from buying this game. You are not allowed to play it. In a perfect world, that's probably how it would work, but obviously we can't do that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's kind of bittersweet, because I feel like we are going to get an even better Pokemon game because of this, and Sword and Shield is already going to be great as it is, so that's really exciting moving forward, even though we're kind of in a gloomy place right now. But knowing that, it also says that these people who have been terrible and awful, just awful, they kind of get what they want in a way, and that really sucks, because like outside of just Pokemon, like you do not want to promote those types of values and that way of thinking and any of that stuff. You really don't want to, because it doesn't make for a good person. So that's kind of what I feel in a nutshell. Obviously, I can't really do anything about that. And once again, I just want to reiterate, I know I've done a lot of bashing on the people who are against the games, and I just want to reiterate that I'm only talking about the people who are going to the extent of harassing the developers, making petitions to the president, just going way just over the edge in terms of their criticism that can't be helped. And once again, like I said earlier, if you're a person who just has regular respectful criticism, more power to you, and thank you for being respectful about your thoughts. Like, you're good, you're in the clear. It just, when it comes to these petition writing, harassing type of people, it's honestly disgusting. But with that being said, since we are kind of, I feel like I've been so negative in this podcast, and I've been on the offensive way more than I like to, because as I said at the beginning, I am not the type of person who likes confrontation. I don't like to go after people. I don't like to be too aggressive, I guess. And so I feel like I've done a lot of that in this podcast. I feel like it's probably necessary and needed to be said, but at the same time, it's not quite in my nature. So we are going to finish off with these last couple of minutes that we have in this podcast. And I am basically just going to give you guys my final, my final feelings about Sword and Shield, since I'm recording this like the day before it comes out. I will be able to pick it up at 10 p.m. tonight, because I pre-ordered it at GameStop, and it's like released at midnight, but relative to the time zone, so I get to pick it up technically a couple hours early, because it's midnight on the East Coast when it's 10 p.m. where I'm at, so I get to pick it up a couple hours early, which is really nice. So since we're right on the cusp of me actually getting to get my hands, I should say, on the games themselves in full and just be able to go crazy, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my last final thoughts and just opinions and hopes and all that type of stuff about the games. As I've been thinking about like what playing the games is going to be like, I am really excited to just get completely lost and immersed in these games. And I think I can say that these games are going to be the most immersive Pokemon games of all time. The reason why I say that is because they're on a big screen. You can play them on a big screen, which makes the display obviously so much bigger, so much wider, so much just all-encompassing. And then with that, you're also going to have higher quality music, in terms of fidelity, because it's an HD game, so it's just going to be like orchestrated as opposed to like not orchestrated on the 3DS or something like that didn't have fully like recorded live music. And with it being on the TV, you obviously get to take advantage of TV speakers, not your dinky little 3DS speakers or even headphones. So like, I feel like just based on that alone, the game is going to be so much more just like right there in your face to where you can get lost in it. And it helps even more. That's really how I felt about Let's Go, because obviously Let's Go was the first Pokemon experience that way. And I really felt that a lot about Let's Go, even when it was the Kanto region and basically a game I had played a million times before. So being able to have that in a brand new region where I get to explore a new location, get to see new Pokemon. And then the graphics, I would say, are a little bit better too, because they're less of that chibi style. They're more of the true to scale type of thing. I feel like I'm just going to get completely lost and enraptured by this game. And I am so unbelievably excited for it. I'm really, really excited to see it on the screen with my own eyes. I think that's something else that makes a big difference as well compared to just like watching a trailer. I'm really excited to build my team and just discover wild Pokemon in the grass. I have avoided all of the spoilers, thank goodness. So I really don't know what's out there other than what's been officially revealed. So I'm just really, really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to seeing the region itself and going through all the towns and everything, because the culture of the Galar region is just absolutely my cup of tea, pun intended, because I just love it. Like, I feel like just based on the geography and everything like that, it's absolutely my type of region. It might end up being my favorite region overall when it's all said and done. We'll have to wait and see, but it is absolutely my style, my flavor. So I'm insanely excited to experience it all because of that. And I'm really excited for the music too, I will say. The fact that there's bagpipes in the soundtrack just gets me so unbelievably hyped, because as you guys probably know, I am a huge music person. I particularly love bagpipes. They are one of my favorite instruments ever. And so to have those in a Pokemon game is it's a match made in heaven. It's a dream come true. And I've really, really gotten excited by what I've heard so far, whether it's that one track we've heard with the bagpipes that I think it's like the main theme for the games. I'm not 100% sure, but it kind of sounds like it. And then the starting town music that we also got a glimpse at a few weeks ago, it sounds awesome. It's been rolling in my head like constantly this whole time, and it just has a really, really nice feel to it. And overall, I am just really excited to get lost in a Pokemon game again. I am just unbelievably excited to just dive right in and not come up for air the whole weekend. And I cannot tell you how hyped I am. I hope this day passes by quickly because I am ready for it. But with that being said, I think that's all about all the time I have, about all I have to say here. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like wherever you are. Leave a comment if you're on YouTube. Please follow wherever you're listening as well for more discussions and topics and podcast episodes each and every Friday. Now that the games will have come out after this episode airs, we'll obviously be able to go in depth on the games, and I will give spoiler warnings if I end up talking about any spoilers, but that is going to be a lot of fun for the next little bit, so that's definitely another reason to follow along as well. And overall, if you guys are getting the game this weekend too, I really hope you guys have an amazing time as well. Be sure to follow me on my channel for plenty more Pokemon Sword and Shield videos. You can follow me on my social media as well, Twitter, Instagram. Let me know how your adventure is going. And yeah, with all that being said, I will be back next Friday with obviously another very interesting episode. I hope you guys have a great Friday, great weekend, a great time playing Sword and Shield. And until the next one, as always, I will smell you guys later.